but y'all ain't doing it. Say smoke fire green, but y'all ain't doing it. Y'all think y'all hot dog, but y'all ain't doing it. You think you spit a hot verse, but y'all ain't doing it. Say that you live at a show, but y'all don't do it. Ride in the limb and get dope, but y'all really did. Say that you got mad, but I don't see the. It should be the man in this, so all I make is hit. Staying at the end of the road, unload, roll at the rock, so let's go.
Hey, Sherry, y'all see.
But I don't need that. Got you.
WHGE 95.3 FM coming up, the Open Eye.
Those of us that indulge in or commit intellectual violence don't do so for the pleasure of mental masturbation or ego diddling. We do so because the chains of oppression in our people's minds are deep and difficult to remove.
Good morning, my children of the sun. Welcome to the Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM. The Advocacy Education Station. I'm your Open Eye host, Patrice Gibbs, third eye optometrist. Yes, indeed, let's get them started. Every generation has its purpose. Ours is to reveal the truth and reverse the brainwashing. Ooh, that's a tough job, ain't it? Yeah, especially when I see some of the things I see. You know, got this from Sister Tracy. There's something very wrong with your spirit if you get pleasure from humiliating, embarrassing, and belittling other people. How many people can we point to like that? Especially when you consider the politics in America, especially on the right. That is their mantra. This hit home for me. When a flashlight grows dim or quits working, you don't throw it away. You change the batteries. When a person messes up and finds themselves in a dark place, do you cast them aside? Of course not. You help them change their batteries. Some need AA, attention and affection. Some need AAA, attention, affection, and acceptance. Some need C, compassion. Some need D, direction. And if they still don't seem to shine, simply sit with them quietly and share your light. Yes, D. Yeah, but let me get my disclaimer out the way here. All right.
The views and opinions expressed on the Open Eye are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors, and do not reflect the policy or position of WHGE 95.3 FM, nor our sponsor, the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Any content provided by Open Eye's hosts, guests, or contributors are theirs and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, company, or individual.
We ready? Hit it. WHGE 95.3 FM. Last couple of weeks actually, I talked about our ancestors and our elders. And something we need to understand. We do not worship our elders. We honor them for who they are and what they have sacrificed to build for us. They deserve our utmost respect because they have diligently kept the path clear, and faithfully carried the torch that lights our way long enough for us to take it so that we can see what lies ahead. These are our elders, not our olders. Olders are those menticidal individuals who have done no more than grow old in our neighborhoods. They have consciously worked to subvert the nationalist path, either by direct action, or an inactive apathy or contempt. Elders have always been there for us. They have lived and will die for us. There's no greater sacrifice one can give to the African nationalism, and we owe them beyond measure. Pretty sure I got that from you, Sister Sherry. Yes, indeed. Some of our entertainers, and I know what Malcolm said about our entertainers, got to be careful about them. But some of them really gave a damn. For instance, Lena Horne, singing actress. During World War II, she entertained the troops for the U.S. 7. Now check this out. This is how sick the racism of white Americans is. German prisoners were seated in front of the black servicemen who were relegated to the back of the theater. They didn't care, that, they're at war with these people. They're white, therefore they come before the blacks that were fighting for freedom. Because the U.S. Army refused to allow integrated audiences, Lena Horne walked off stage to the row where the black troops were seated and performed. Then they had the best seats in the house. Big ups, Lena. Yeah, but especially during political season, we hear this phrase come about all the time. I want to thank the sister for that. Sorry, I forgot your name, sister. But we hear this question come up all the time. Like I said, especially during political season. What would the founding fathers do? What would the founding fathers... I'm sorry. Why are we concerned about what a bunch of psychotic human and sex traffickers would do? Why would we give a damn about that? Help me understand why I should give a damn what the hell a bunch of weirdo ass people who human traffic people across the globe, sexually traffic people all over this country. Why would I give a damn what the hell they think while simultaneously talking about freedom? Yeah. Why would we give a damn about them talking for freedom or for fraud? It's crazy to think that in 2024 we are asking what these people who would literally pass out if they saw the world that we live in today. Barack Obama's presidency, they would have lost their wigs, their literal wigs. Look at the reaction of the people who live today. Donald Trump is a direct result of white lash. White people were so butthurt that a black man sat in the White House. They went and elected a con man, a semi-illiterate damn fool. You mean to tell me I was supposed to care about what a man who freaking locked his wife's little sister in a closet next to his bedroom so he could rape her when she was just a child? You think I give a damn about what that guy thinks? And for those who don't know, I'm talking about Thomas Jefferson. Look up Sally Hemings. the freaking quote unquote love story that they try to promote through the propaganda. You know, they try to make it a love story. And she was the mistress of the house. That was his lady. Sally Hemings was a little girl when Thomas Jefferson raped her. And actually, in case you don't know, Sally Hemings was herself the product of a slave woman being raped. Thomas Jefferson's father-in-law raped one of his slave women. Sally Hemings was actually Thomas Jefferson's wife's little sister. Sally Hemings was enslaved. She couldn't say no. And he put this little girl, he locked her in a freaking room next to his so he could have access to her whenever he wanted. And you think I give a damn what this monster thinks? The hell. The founding fathers. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Open Eye, your host, Third Eye Optometrist Patrice Gibbs. Don't know if you've been paying attention, but Britain, the right-wing white supremacists of Britain, the last couple of weeks, have been losing their mind, rioting and going on. They don't want black people or immigrants or people of color there, black or brown people. Yeah, it's something how those that don't know their own damn history don't know that they wouldn't have a civilization without the African. And that's a fact. Europeans, they lived in the Dark Ages until 7-Eleven. Well, actually, yeah, even during 7-Eleven. Especially during the time where most of Europe was a theocracy. When the church controlled most of the governments. It was called the Dark Ages for a reason. And you see many documentaries, especially from our own documentarians, that you know that, and historians, that Europe should be screaming, thank heaven for 7-Eleven. Let me tell you 20 things that Europeans learned from Africa. Agriculture. Africans introduced Europeans to crops like maize, sorghum, and millet. Architecture. African designs influenced European buildings, such as the use of the arches and domes. Came from Africa. Art. Africans inspired European artists like Picasso and Matisse, and many others. Of course, music, African rhythms and instruments influenced European music, such as jazz and rock. Came from us. Jazz and rock are not European music. Even the classical music. Medicine. Africans share a knowledge of herbs and remedies like quinine for malaria. Okay? And it's something that in the early 20th century, when Rockefeller found out that you could simulate some of the medicines that were taught by Africans by using petroleum and making pills. Now we're a country of pill poppers. They even outlawed some natural remedies. This is how sick these people are. Mathematics. Africans developed advanced math concepts, like the Fibonacci sequence. Look it up. Metallurgy. Africans introduced Europeans to ironworking and bronze casting. Ironworking, that's something that the Europeans learned just before the calendar went from BC to AD, Common Era, or whatever you want to call it. Okay. That's when they learned to work with different metals and what have you. In the meantime, archaeologists have found factories, iron smelting centers that date back 300,000-400,000 years. That means they have all the sciences that go into building a factory when the European was still making weapons and tools out of stone and wood. Navigation. Probably one of the worst things we did was to teach them navigation, because the Africans taught Europeans navigation skills like reading stars and using compasses. Shouldn't have never did that. Textiles. Africans introduced Europeans to cotton, dyeing, and weaving techniques. Cuisine. Africans introduced Europeans to food like rice, okra, and plantains. Unfortunately, they didn't teach them a goddamn thing about seasoning food, or how to make potato salad. Don't put no freaking raisins in it. Language. You know, the Greeks, for the most part, their language consisted, when they met the Africans, and the Africans would not allow the Greeks in for a few thousand years, and they finally did. And the reason being, because these fools was running around grunting and growling. African languages influenced European languages such as Portuguese and French. Religion. African spiritual beliefs influenced European religions like Christianity. Science. Africans made significant contributions to astronomy, like identifying constellations. And the Europeans, caught up in their mythology and what have you, when their own learned astronomy, such as Galileo, because it went against what they had established, that the earth was flat and the sun do move. That's for you silly earth flatters, flat earthers, whatever you call them. Okay. The Africans taught them how to track the stars. And of course, in their superstition, like I said, they locked up people like Galileo. Technology. Africans developed innovative tools like the Congo diploma, a messaging system. Trade. It was the Africans who established trade networks and markets, teaching Europeans about commerce. Because what they knew mostly was rob and pillage. That's what they did with their own. Writing. It was the Africans that developed writing systems like the hieroglyphics, the Phoenician alphabet, beauty and cosmetics. Africans introduced Europeans to products like shea butter and henna. And they introduced them to bathing. Yeah, it's something when some of these Europeans would come to, black and brown territories throughout the world. They were greeted with flowers, and they thought they were being worshipped and this, that, and the other. No, they stank. They stank. That's why, like, when they went to the Pacific Islands, they were covered with layers, what they call the layers. The flowers on the, as a necklace and what have you. And now it's to hold down the stench because these people didn't believe in bathing. Yeah. Support Africans introduced Europeans to games like Mancala and chess and checkers. Social structures. The Africans introduced Europeans to communal living and social organization. See, the European is competitive and individualistic in nature. And they brought that to America. America individualism. That's why I'm so vehement against these people running around with this sovereign stuff. Because it goes against everything that we as a people believe in. Because we believe in community. Sovereignty is an individualistic philosophy that comes from white supremacists. Let that go. Environmental conservation. Africans taught Europeans about sustainable farming and resource management. They still haven't caught on to that. Because they are still the primary people that cannot live in concert with nature. Because everything to them is a competition. The African is the cradle of mankind. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Sure enough, girl. This is the Open Eye. Patrice Gibbs here, your third eye optometrist. A couple of times on here, I've gone over what it means to be a conservative, and how much I advise against it, and how much damage conservatism or conservatives have done. Things that they were against. Of course, they were against abolition of the slave. They're against fair housing. They're against education. Oh yeah, we know that. We know they're definitely against education. Wait a minute, I got something right here. When I had a little note right here, hold on. Yeah. Hey. And you're banning The Handmaid's Tale or To Kill a Mockingbird, but you're not banning Mein Kampf. I don't have to think very hard about what your real agenda is. See, this book ban, they're big on that. Ronald Reagan, he may roast the hell of me, the devil sodomizing with a pitchfork. One of the most dangerous white supremacists to sit in the White House. When he was governor of California, schools like Berkeley, universities like Berkeley, if you were from California, you were automatically accepted and it was free. You were from outside of California, if you passed the entrance exam, it was free. And what Reagan declared was, education should only be for the select few, primarily white people. Stop calling them conservatives. They don't want to conserve anything. They want to take the society backwards. Let's get real. Call them regressives. Alright? What is a regressive? One who returned to the 1920s, before Social Security, unemployment insurance, labor laws, the minimum wage, Medicare and Medicaid, worker safety laws, the Environmental Protection Agency, banking regulation, and the Voting Rights Act. Call them regressives. They want to get rid of all banking regulations. Start calling them what they are. The regressives. Because that's what they want to do. They want to regress the society. So what's up, Steve? I see you, bro. Sexism is when a judge gets to legally prioritize the safety of a rapist over the safety of every single woman he'll come across in his life. That's regressive. Racism is when prisons are full of black men charged with nonviolent offenses, but considered too severe for a white rapist convicted of 3 felonies. Privilege is being able to read that and still roll your eyes and deny either exists. That's what regressives do. They want to take you back. Now, there were some things from the past that were beneficial to society. Okay, because like I said, when Republican demon Ronald Reagan, may roast to hell, may the devil sodomizing with a pitchfork, came into office, the damage that he did to society and the economy we still haven't recovered from. Still haven't recovered from. The guy is saying, I saw this guy saying in 1978, he made $10 an hour installing air conditioning. He had a brand new four-wheel drive truck that cost $6,800. Gas was, 60 cents a gallon. He was able to rent a 2-bedroom house for $300 a month. Now the same job pays $17 to $20 an hour, but that truck costs $40,000, 5.8 times more. That house is $1,400 a month. Actually, it's around $2,500 a month, depending on where you are. And gas is 30, 40 times more. Food and insurance almost 7 times more. Yeah. College tuition since 78 has increased by 1,120%. Medical care has increased by 601%. Food has increased by 244%. But they want to cut food stamps. When the rich run out of food, when the poor run out of food, they eat the rich. Shelter has gone up by 380%. And you wonder why America has a homeless problem. Meanwhile, the pay of typical workers rose by just 10%. Minimum wage workers fell by 5.5%. Meanwhile, the average CEO's salary increased by 937%. And exactly, Steve, greedflation. It's not inflation, it's greedflation. I stand by, the government stands by and watches these corporations gouge us. Still what little bit of money we got. WHGE 95.3 FM, the open eye.
Come on. Change your phone. Yeah. Eat that. All right now. Take them to the motherland.
That's right. Take them to the motherland. Oh, there you go. That's right. Say it again. Take them to the motherland. They didn't hear that on the radio land. Didn't have the mic on, excuse me. Yeah. Justice is blind. Really? Where? In August of 1959, Arkansas Supreme Court Justice urged resistance to integration and told thousands of segregationists to do what needs to be done. Jim Johnson, an Arkansas Supreme Court Justice, told a statewide segregationist rally at Pine Bluff, Arkansas on August 21st, 1959. It happened to be my mother's birthday. She would have been 90 years old. Happy birthday, beloved. He told them to do what needs to be done to fight the proposed integration of schools, and he did it in the Doorway School District. Dollarway. When Dollarway falls, Johnson extorted the crowd, Arkansas falls. The crowd of over 1,000 white residents cheered. How many of you seen the photos from the Arkansas 9 that were going to school? The vitriol and anger. You wonder why? On August 4th, a federal judge ordered that 3 black children be admitted to the Dollarway School District when schools reopened in September. The Dollarway School Board appealed the decision. Meanwhile, white residents in the Dollarway District put together a petition with over 1,200 signatures asking Governor Orville Faubus to preserve segregation in the district with all the force at your command. I'm going to stop right there for a second. I would be surprised as hell if somebody named Orville Faubus wasn't a white supremacist. Damn, just having that name speaks of generations of white supremacists. Orville Faubus, and he was the governor. Now, though that Brown versus Board of Education determined in 1954 that school segregation was unconstitutional. For years, white residents across Arkansas relied on intimidation and organized political resistance to maintain segregation in the public schools. Excuse me. White residents fought court rulings and held intimidation rallies to terrorize black families and their children, while politicians closed schools to avoid integration. By 1960, only 98 of Arkansas's 104,000 black students attended integrated schools. Justice Jim Johnson was an outspoken segregationist who served as an Arkansas state senator and associate justice on the Arkansas Supreme Court in the 1950s and 60s. After the Brown decision, Justice Johnson launched a campaign to ensure that the defense of segregation remained a central political platform in Arkansas well into the 60s. Justice Johnson formed the White Citizens Council of Arkansas, which protested plans to integrate schools in the town of Hoxie. See, I was a black person living in Arkansas, I would have left Hoxie and proposing an amendment to the Arkansas Constitution that would authorize state officials to ignore federal law. And guess what? Arkansas voters passed that. In 1956, Justice Johnson challenged incumbent Orville Faubus and ran for governor on a segregationist platform with the endorsement of the KKK. Although Justice Johnson lost the election, he leveraged his supporters to pressure Governor Faubus, to embrace the segregationist cause. So I don't think that was real hard to do. Of course, Johnson was instrumental in persuading Governor Faubus to defy federal orders to desegregate Little Rock High School in 1957. The massive resistance to integration by the white community was largely successful in preventing integration of schools, especially in the South. In the 5 Deep South states, every single one of the 1.4 million black school children attended segregated schools until the fall of 1960. By the start of the 1964 school year, less than 3% of the South's black children attended school with white students. And in Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi, and South Carolina, that number remained substantially below 1%. In 1967, 13 years after Brown versus Board of Education, a report by the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights observed that white violence and intimidation against black people continues to be a deterrent to school desegregation. That was in 1967. Okay, you can learn more about this history by reading EJI's report, Segregation in America. You can also learn more about segregationist leaders like Justice Johnson, including his wife, Virginia Johnson. Okay? Like I said, in 1967, 13 years after the Brown versus Board of Education, Delaware, a southern state, the first state, didn't desegregate schools until the late 70s, 1977, as I recall. I was in high school. And that desegregation was met with racism and vehemence. The first year of busing, in 1977, school didn't start that year until well into October because of the protests of the white populace, the racist white populace. It's right here in Delaware. Don't get it mixed. Yeah, I know, here in the northern part of Delaware, we may seem like northerners and what have you, but Delaware is a southern state and a slave state. And that legacy still lives. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye.
Georgia. Yeah. Yeah. Put some bottom on. Oh yeah. Stay funky now. Yeah.
WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Last week was 4 days of the Democratic Convention. Kamala Harris is officially the Democratic nominee for president. Historic occasion, a black woman. Okay, and yeah, I know. You know, some of our own people, well, she identifies as Indian. Okay. She identifies as a person of color, you know. And I heard this one brother say, I don't identify her as black because she went to a HBCU. Or she hung out with black people and listened to rap music and claimed to celebrate Kwanzaa and this. No, I identify her as a black woman because her daddy was black. And we live in America where you have the one-drop rule. I'm going to veer off a little bit on that one-drop rule. I was looking at this video last night. I don't know how many of you, how old some of you are, you may have or may not have heard of the raunchy blonde bombshell Mae West, who was considered, you know, like one of the naughtiest actresses in Hollywood. You know, she made the phrase "come up and see me sometime" famous. Yeah. Well, guess what? Mae West was passing. Mae West had that one drop of black blood that would have made her classified as black. She was passing. Yeah. And I didn't watch a whole lot of the Democratic Convention. I didn't even watch Kamala Harris's acceptance speech. I've seen highlights of it here and there. And what have you. You know, I had reports from others about, you know, what really went on. One of the people that I got a report on was Brother Latif, Brother Hameen, Abdul Latif Hameen, Brother Hameen, right, warrior in the struggle. And he said, maybe I missed it, but there was no mention at the Democratic Convention about the poor, the downtrodden, and those who are left out of America's dream. Rescue me if I'm wrong. My learning of those who move up and achieve middle-class status seem to forget from whence they came and never look back. Consequently, the forgotten always seems to stay in their status quo. However, if it wasn't for those who are steadfast in the trenches to make a difference for the marginalized crowd and overlooked, and those soldiers continue to have the fortitude to be steadfast and not waver or become disillusioned by the benign neglect of whoever sits in the seat of power, the struggle will continue regardless. Then another person that was informative, historian Mr. Krim, well-known influencer and history teacher, educator. And he said 4 days of the DNC in the city of Chicago, and not one mention of reparations. 4 days of the DNC in Chicago, they talked about Trump, they talked about Project 25, they talked about various other issues that are very important, but not one mention of the systemic issues that impact people in inner cities across the country, particularly Black Americans who live in these inner cities. 4 days of the DNC and the shot, and not one time that I hear them talk about reparations or counter-resistivity, racism. In combination with various other issues that they kept mentioning in repetition. 4 days of the convention in Chicago and not one mention of reparations and justice for the survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre. The topic of reparations politically right now, especially among black people, is more popular and talked about than it has ever been. As a matter of fact, California is being very closely watched as they formed the Commission on Reparations. Okay? Now, in their policy, in their platform, Democrats explicitly state that they will establish a national commission to examine the lasting economic effects of slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, and racially discriminatory federal policies for the purpose of pursuing truth and promote racial healing and to study reparations. All right? They talk about that. Mm-hmm. But what they did was they missed the opportunity to talk about reparations, racism, and so forth. It would have been the opportunity to implant in the consciousness of the so-called diverse Democratic Party the publicly acquiesce to white comfort can only last so long. And you know what's crazy? And this is what Mr. Krim said. That people will criticize him more than that. More than they will criticize white comfort for pointing out this flaw. Then they will criticize the Democrats for perpetually ignoring us. Yeah, I got some people said, you know, because I talked about the lesser of two evils. Okay, and the Democrats are the lesser of two evils. Mm-hmm. And you're being soft on it, kind of backed off. Yeah, matter of fact, I think you might be sad. No, then you haven't been listening to me. I'll be damned if you're gonna tag me with some sellout label. You must be out your freaking mind. When did you tune into the Open Eye? This morning? Mm-hmm. Because I do not excuse the Democrats for ignoring us. I got sense enough to see that, like I said, you know, the lesser of two evils, the evil that we vote against is evil on another level. Look at what they've done to the Supreme Court justice, to the Supreme Court, the justices on the Supreme Court. Look at what they've done. And if you don't think that the conservatives, the right wing, has every purpose of turning the clock back. Well, you know, and I've heard some so-called black consciousness people, that 2025 is just a scare tactic. They're not going to do anything that they haven't already talked about doing before. Well, they haven't done it before because we stepped up and blocked them from doing it. And those people that suffer from coonology, or coonerism, running around talking about Trump has done more for the black people than any president ever before. Are you injecting fentanyl? The hell is wrong with you? This fool has let you know that he is the most racist. Look, he has no policies. And the people that vote for him aren't voting for him because he has any policies. They vote for him, but for one reason, his racism. But that don't mean that me and those that think like me have let the Democrats off the hook. Because we understand that power conceives nothing without demand. And we will not be diverted from our issues. The agenda must address black people and black people only. When I say that, I'm not saying you don't do anything for others. I'm saying have a specific policy for us. Not minorities, not people of color. You know how I feel about that POC stuff. Because when they say people of color, they don't mean us. People of color includes one-eyed purple polka dot people eaters. They don't mean us. We are not going to divert to some subgroup. And black society's top priority is and should be economic empowerment. Without the roadblocks that stop that from happening. And we demand the total dismantling of systemic white supremacy. We demand that you recognize that white supremacy and police violence is a human rights violation. Don't think because I said the lesser two evils. See, here's the thing. You have to understand the art of war. If we deal with this by ignoring the fact that what the right wants to do is scorch earth, which will leave us nothing to build on. Schools can no longer be weaponized against black children. Last week I talked about, who was it? One of the German, one of the Nazi heroes. You don't see any statues of him around. So we want the symbols of institutionalized racism off of public grounds. It's just some of our demands. And for those that, like I said, that say, oh, well, voting doesn't mean anything, and, we're going to stay home. We advise you to stay on the couch. A lot of y'all talking that crap wouldn't bust a grape. You have no idea or understanding of what a revolution is. Yeah, we're going to have a revolution. No, you're not. Because you're not ready. The way towards start a revolution, the proper steps have to be taken. And you have to know the rules of revolution. Vision, planning, clarity of purpose, collective trust, and most important, unity. These have been the ingredients of every successful revolution. Yes, we've had social revolutions. And what I have advised for years is that we adhere to the rules of war as espoused by Sun Tzu. In practical art of war, the best thing is to take the enemy's country whole and intact. To shatter and destroy it is not so good. So too, it is better to recapture an army entire than destroy it. So what we need to do is to take this thing from the inside out. History teaches us that every empire that was taken was already in a state of decay. Yes, America is still rich and militarily powerful. However, structurally, socially, politically, the already morally bankrupt American empire is and has been in decay. If conscious black people in America learn to employ the tactic of infiltration, infiltrate every institution from the halls of government to academia, we can affect everything from how the money is spent to what policies are enacted. Blacks in America may be outnumbered, outfinanced, outgunned. We have to stop being outorganized. And we don't have to continue to be outsmarted. We can no longer continue to amble along haphazardly, hoping for on a prayer, a dream, and dumb luck. You can't be lucky all the time, but you can be smart every day. If black people move with tactical intelligence, that revolution that has yet to happen can take on a whole new meaning. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Can I rock and roll? I'm a rock and roll.
Yeah, I like to rock and roll. Well, coming to the close of the show. Hope you learned something on the Open Eye. I know I learned something before we got here, and as we always tell you, destiny determines who enters your life, but you decide who stays. Therefore, value those who value you, and don't treat those as a priority who treat you as an option. This has been Open Eye. I'm Patrice Gibbs. Thanks for joining us.
Come on.
Yeah. And like I always tell you, global African supremacy. When the African ruled, everybody ate. The world was a much better place. Patrice Gibbs, the Open Eye.